Okay, so I'm going to start now talking about the PTE scoring criteria, and today we'll be discussing about the reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and how you get a score for the different question types in PTE according to the sections. So first thing you need to understand is in PTE, almost in all sections, you are evaluated for two sections at the same time. That means when you are doing speaking, you are being evaluated for either reading or listening. When you are doing your writing, you are being evaluated for writing and reading. In your reading, you have to show your skill in writing and reading, and in listening, you have to show your skill for listening, writing, and reading. So you can see that in PT, you are being evaluated for more than one skill at a time, which is unlike the other traditional tests, such as IELTS. And because of this, how you approach the test and how you need to create strategies to address different aspects of the test becomes important to understand. And that's what we are going to discuss in today's class. I'm sorry for this interruption. Now let's talk about the first criteria for speaking. Basically, in speaking, there are three criteria, and they start with content, fluency, and pronunciation. Now, in most of the questions of speaking, when I say most of the questions, I'm talking about especially the three questions like describe image, retell lecture, and repeat sentence. You are being evaluated for content, fluency, and pronunciation in the same manner. However, in short answer question, you are only evaluated for your vocabulary, and in read aloud, you are being evaluated for your fluency in pronunciation and for content as well, but in a different way. So I'll talk about all of them one by one, starting with the first question type, that is read aloud. Now in read aloud, there are three criteria: content, fluency, and pronunciation. The score for them is like this. For pronunciation, you get 5 points. For pronunciation, you get 5 points. For fluency, you get 5 points. And for content, it depends on the length of the text. Now, what do they mean and how do you get these scores? I'll try to explain. But whatever I tell you about fluency in pronunciation, remember that applies to all the other question types as well, which means whether you are doing repeat sentence or you are doing retell lecture or you are doing this is a short answer question, the same rules applies to them as well. Let's just start with pronunciation. Now, in pronunciation, what are the factors they look into? The first thing is they compare your pronunciation with the pronunciation of the native speaker. Pronunciation of the native speaker, which means they're trying to find out how well you can say a word in English and how clear it is. There are many technical aspects of this, and I'll not get into them, but there are a few things to keep in mind when you are doing read aloud, especially if you think that you are losing a score in pronunciation. The first thing is, whenever you are speaking, make sure there is intonation in your voice, which means your voice is going up and down, like the tone is changing. You're stressing on the words, you are stressing on the important words as you are speaking. Second thing is make sure there is also variation in your speed, which simply means that when you are talking about important words, you are slowing down. When you're talking about important words, you are slowing down and your tone is going up. So tone up, speed down whenever you are trying to say any important words. This is also called stressing or emphasizing the content, and this is very important for your score. The next thing is you have to think about connected speech. I'm sorry for this interruption. It's just happening. It's happening all the time whenever I put my hand here. The next thing is you have to think about connected speech. So what is connected speech? When we speak in English, we don't have one word at a time. All the related words are spoken out as one block, and you need to maintain that throughout your read aloud. You have to speak in blocks of ideas, which are similar in meaning. We also call them sense groups, group of words which are similar in meaning. You need to read them out in one go, in one breath. Okay, that's very important. If you are able to do this much, and as long as you don't have any gross problem in your pronunciation, you will not lose your score in pronunciation. But if you have any specific problem, of course, at the end of this discussion, at the end of this presentation, I'll be taking your questions as well, so you can ask me at that time. The next thing is fluency. Now, fluency is perhaps one of the least understood criteria of PTE speaking, because for most people, this is kind of enigma. People don't understand what is fluency. So that's why there are a lot of rumors about it. Some people say that fluency means if you speak faster, you get more score. Some people say that no, fluency is all about smoothness. Some people say like people who speak slow are likely to get less score. Or this is all about speaking fast, or you don't have to pause, you don't have to take pause, or you don't have to stop at full stop, you don't need to slow down at comma. All these rumors are not true. Fluency only means smoothness. You have to take natural pauses as necessary. If you are not sure about how to do that, I suggest you take help from someone who understands this well. And you can ask your friends who have already got this score, or you can ask the tutors if you are taking classes somewhere to explain to you how you take the natural pauses and how do you segregate or how do you group the words into sense groups so that you can do it in the right way. Remember, in your exam, if you get stuck in one or two places in the entire test, it's not a big deal, and so you're not going to lose that much score. But if it keeps happening, then you might lose a score. There are three things about fluency. There are three things you should always avoid if you want to, if you don't want to lose a score in fluency. The first thing is hesitation. Always avoid hesitation because it reduces the score. Repetition. Don't repeat yourself. If you have already mentioned something, there is no need to mention it twice, which also means that if you have said something, but you made a small mistake there, don't try to correct yourself because you'll be repeating yourself. If you have made some minor mistakes, there is no need to correct yourself. The last thing is called false start. Now, false start means sometimes what happens is we start a sentence and then eventually we realize like we can't complete the sentence, and because of that we start the sentence all over again. That's not a good thing to do in PTE because you'll be penalized for this in fluency. You'll be losing your score. So these are the two important things about pronunciation and fluency. Pronunciation is all about changing your tone, changing your speed, and speaking with proper stress on important words. Fluency is about speaking smoothly without hesitating, repeating, or having a false start. And the last point is content. Now, I talked about content at the end. The reason for this is in your entire speaking test, your fluency and pronunciation are more important than the content. No matter we are talking about repeat sentence, or we are talking about describe image, or we are talking about retell lecture. Except for short answer question, in all the question types, your fluency and pronunciation are more important. Which means how you speak has more value than what you speak. And that is the reason I'm talking about content at the end. Now, depending on the question type, the criteria for the content is different. That means in all the other questions mean repeat sentence, describe image, retell lecture, fluency and pronunciation are measured in the same way I explained here. But the content will be measured and scored in different ways. So from read aloud onwards, I'll be talking about only the content because I've already explained the fluency and pronunciation. However, if you have any questions, you can ask me at the end. So the content for read aloud, how do they measure the content? Or how much score do you get for the content? If you have already noticed, I have not written the score you get for the content. The reason for that is the score for the content depends on the length of the text, which means if you are reading a long text, you get more points. If you're reading a short text, you get less points. But remember, if the word is long or if the word is short, it does not have any impact on your score of the content. That means a short word will get the same score as a long word. So when we might lose a score for the content, there are three situations where we might lose the score for the content. The first is called replacement. Replacement means there is a word in the text which you replace for a similar word, because usually we read what we want to read rather than what we see there, because our brain usually only focuses on the first and last letter and tries to figure out what word is that. So as an example, let's say the word was hospitable, and if you say hospital, that's called a replacement, because hospital is more common than hospitable. You are more likely to say hospital. So if that happens, you will not get any point for that word. Another situation where you might lose point is when you add something. Now, of all the words that we are likely to add, I think, and I have seen that the is one word that we add often without realizing. So what could be the solution to this? Be more careful, because there is no other solution. Be more careful next time when you're reading, or you can record yourself and find out if you have a tendency of adding words which are not there. If that is the case, you can be more careful, and you can control yourself from doing that. The third thing is deletion or omission. What it means is leaving out the important letters at the end, and we are more likely to miss the words like, let's say, books. So people are more likely to say book and miss as. If this happens, you'll not get point for the entire word. Okay, so there is no partially scoring for this. If you don't say books, you don't get the points. Or let's say the word is talked and you just say talk, again, you'll lose points. So you need to be careful about this thing. If I have to summarize whatever I told you here, then you have to be careful about pronunciation, you have to be careful about fluency, and you have to be careful about the content. And another important thing is read aloud contributes to reading as well. So a poor performance in read aloud might affect your speaking as well as your reading. So be careful about this as well. Sorry, I'm just letting a few other people to join. So it's taking me a little time here. I hope you don't mind. Now I'm going to the next question type. And that is repeat sentence. Repeat sentence is considered one of the difficult questions in speaking, especially because most people complain that they can't repeat the whole sentence. They always miss one or two words, or if the sentence is long, they feel confused at the beginning and can't repeat even 2-3 words. But in order to get high score in this part, you first have to understand how the scoring works here. So how do you get a score for repeat sentence? That's very important for you to understand. Now, fluency and pronunciation, the criteria are same, and you again get 5 for fluency and 5 for pronunciation. But the more important part is this, content. Now, if you look at the content, you can see that I've written 100% is equal to 3, 50 to 99% is equal to 2, up to 50% is equal to 1. What do they actually mean? And how did this scoring actually works? Let me explain that as well. So how does it work? In repeat sentence, let's say that you just heard a sentence which was 10 words long. Let's say the sentence is, let me call you when I am free. Let's say this is the sentence. Okay, let me call you when I'm free. And when repeating this sentence, you said, let me call when free. Let's say you said this. You said this, but you said it in a perfect way. That means without compromising your pronunciation or without compromising your fluency. What happens? Let's see. Let me call you when I'm free. Let me call you when free. So first thing that happens is they count the number of words you're able to repeat in order. Remember, in order means if you say, let call me, that means call and me are in wrong order, so they will not be counted. Only the words which came in the same order as in the actual sentence will be counted, even if you are missing a few words in between. If they are in order, they'll be counted. And if I count them here, I can see 3 words here, 2 words here, so total words 5. If I look at the original sentence, then it has 3 words 6, and 2 to 8. So I was able to remember 5 words out of 8 in order, which means it's between 50 to 99%. Now I'll be getting 2 points for content. And depending on how well I spoke, I might get 5 out of 5 in both fluency and pronunciation, even if I was able to remember only 5 words, which means I can get 12 out of 13. 13 is the total score here, so I might get 12 out of 13. Now, let's say another person says, let me call you when I am, and can't remember anything after that. So only missed 1 word. So what happens? Again, this person has been able to repeat only 50 to 99%. So even that person will get only 2 points. What am I trying to prove here? Repeat sentence. Try your best to repeat the whole sentence. If not possible, try as much of the sentence as you can, because you don't really have to remember the full sentence to get the points here or to be evaluated. If you say something, they will evaluate you. Even if you say just 1 or 2 words, they will evaluate you and will try to give you a score based on how much you score for fluency and pronunciation and content based on the proportion of the words you were able to remember. So if you can't remember everything, don't freak out, don't stress out too much, just repeat whatever you can. And one thing that can help you to repeat a larger portion of the sentence would be saying something that you think will help you to continue. Which means, let's say you didn't hear the word, but you added it. So let's say that I will call you on Monday when I get back from my work. And you say, I will call you tomorrow when I get back from work. This can happen. So you were supposed to say Monday, but you said tomorrow. So what happens here? For that word, tomorrow, you will not get any points, but still you can see that it helps you to maintain the fluency because you're focusing more on the meaning. So focus more on meaning. That way you'll be able to remember and repeat larger part of the sentence, and based on the proportion of the sentence you are able to repeat, you'll get points. Fluency and pronunciation, again, the same rule. And those of you who are enrolled here, you already know how we can repeat the full sentence using the simple sentence structures in English. If anyone has problem in this particular question, and if you're enrolled here, get in touch with me privately and I'll try to explain this. Okay, let's go to the next question type, and that is, oh, it's not letting me go to the next question. So the next question type here is describe image. This is perhaps the funniest part of this test, because I have heard the stories of many people who were not actually able to do that well in the test, but still got very good score, especially because the content was really ridiculous. They were saying all kinds of things about colors and just the keywords there, and still they were getting the score. The reason for that is because describe image does not influence any other sections, unlike the repeat sentence or read aloud, where read aloud affected reading and speaking, repeat sentence affected listening and speaking, but describe image is only for speaking. Fluency and pronunciation, again, you get 5 and 5 points, and content you get 5 points. Now, how do you get these points, 5 points for content? Based on my observation of the last 4 years, how you get these points is you just have to make sure that all the keywords from the questions have been included in the answer, even if the sentence was not grammatically correct. So grammatical construction of the sentence, theoretically speaking, is very important. But based on my experience, as long as the keywords from the image are on your answer, in your answer, you don't lose points here. That's what I've seen. And that's the reason why even people with really poor skill have been able to score really well in the test. So I want you to focus more on getting the keywords from the image and include them in your answer, and focus more on your fluency and pronunciation, which means look at different types of images, see which kind of words you are likely to see there, and make sure you can pronounce those words without any problem. Okay, statistical words, for example, the words which you commonly see in bar diagrams or pie charts, make sure you know how to pronounce them, how to do that in the right way with the right stress. That way your score in describe image will go up. Now the next question is read the lecture. Same criteria, content 5, fluency 5, pronunciation 5, but there is a catch here. The catch is read a lecture also affects your listening. So just like in describe image, you can catch a few keywords, include them in your answer, and get the score for speaking. But if your answer is not well organized, if there is problem in the grammatical construction of the sentence, if the vocabulary choice is not appropriate, it might affect your listening. In fact, this is one of the reasons why many students in many centers have complained that they got really good score in speaking, but listening score was really low. And one of the reasons is because those people are relying on a trick to improve their score in speaking, but because of that, their listening score is getting compromised because the content is weak. So I want you to think about this. And if you don't know how to do this properly so that you don't lose a score in listening and speaking at this same time, or you get a score in speaking but not in listening, again, discuss with me. Or at the end of this webinar, you can ask me some specific questions if you want to. Okay, so I hope I'm not going too fast. If anyone is not getting any idea here, if anyone is feeling confused, please feel free to stop me, or please write in the comments so that I can modify the way I'm doing this. And I would love to get your feedback, real-time feedback. You don't have to wait until the end if something is not making sense here. Okay, now I'm going to talk about short answer question. So short answer question is the question that you get at the end. You are likely to get around 5 to 12 questions depending on the set you get in the test. For each question that you answer correctly, you get 1 point. Remember, you are not assessed for your fluency or or the pronunciation here. You will only be evaluated for your vocabulary. That means if you have been able to use the keyword, then you'll get the score. Okay, if you have been able to use the keyword related to the question, you'll get the score. Okay, so basically you just try to understand the question and answer it. If you miss too many short answer questions, it may not affect your speaking much, but still it can affect your listening. The reason for this is this question is responsible for speaking and listening score. Fortunately, the questions here are not that difficult. So enroll students, you can check the speaking questions, short answer questions we have on student portal, and we have also added a few new questions. Have a look at them. If you have any problem, then let me know. Okay, so that I can arrange something for you. But this question is not that important. If you think you have problem in speaking, I suggest you focus more on other questions than short answer questions. Do these questions only when you have extra time. Okay. If you are already struggling in speaking, I think this should be the last question you should be practicing. So this is about speaking. So if I have to summarize the scoring criteria of speaking, there are 3 common factors which influence your score: content, fluency, and pronunciation. Pronunciation and fluency have the same rule, same criteria in all question types where they're evaluated. Content score depends on the types of the questions. In read aloud, it depends on whether you missed a word, whether you replaced a word, or whether you add something which is not there. In repeat sentence, it depends on the proportion of the sentence you could remember correctly. In describe image, it depends on the key information from the image you were able to include in the answer. In retell lecture, again, the key information from the lecture you could summarize and present. And in short answer question, there is only one criteria, that is vocabulary, whether you were able to answer the question or not. So these are the criteria for speaking. Now let's go to writing. Writing in PT is slightly different than other sections, and the reason for that is you get fewer questions here. However, each question has more duration. Because of that, the entire length of writing can be longer than the other sections as well. So you can get up to 3 summarized written text and up to 2 essays, but you will never get maximum number of questions from both the sections, which means if you get 3 summaries, you will get only 1 essay. If you get 2 essays, you will never get 3 summaries, and so on. So how do you get a score for writing? The criteria for writing is a little complex, especially for essay, but let's just start with summarized written text. Summarized written text, the first criteria is content. That means how many important points you were able to get from the question. And about the content, I think the most important thing you need to know is you are allowed to copy a few words from the passage. As long as you are not copying everything as it is, you'll not be penalized for this. So I suggest that don't go for copying more than 3 or 4 words at a time, because that would be more like copying everything from the passage. So just maximum copy 2 or 3 words only, and if you feel like you're copying more than that, be careful and see if you're copying because these are technical terms, or you're copying because of limitation of your vocabulary. The next criteria is form, and for form you get 1 point, and there are 2 sub criteria here. The first one is it has to be 1 sentence long only, and the second is it has to be between 5 to 75 words. That means if even by mistake there is more than 1 full stop, you will lose points. And the interesting thing here is if you lose points for content or form, let's say you get 0 in content or 0 in form, after that you get 0 overall. That's actually a very important thing to keep in mind, which means, like, let's say that you have written a good summary in 1 sentence, but that's about a different topic. You don't get points for grammar and vocabulary now. You just get 0. Similarly, let's say you have written a good summary, but the length of your sentence is, you have written more than 1 sentence, or you have written more than 75 words, again, you'll get overall 0. Okay, you need to be careful about that. About grammar and vocabulary, you get 2 points, and I will just tell you briefly how do you get these 2 points. No major mistakes. As long as you have not made any major mistakes in grammar or in vocabulary, you will be getting full points. That means your word selection is correct, appropriate, and in grammar, there are no major noticeable mistakes. You'll be getting full points here. So my tip for this part would be avoid writing something complex or something you are not confident of, because then you will make mistakes and you'll lose points. The criteria for grammar and vocabulary is same for the essay writing as well. There also we get a score for grammar and vocabulary. You can see here, grammar and vocabulary, again, you get 2 points each. And again, the criteria is same. No major mistakes. For the content, okay, I'll get to the content later. Let's talk about some easier ones first. For spelling, you get 2 points, and the criteria is this. No mistake, you get 2. 1 mistake, you get 1. More than 1 mistake, you get 0. Logical development, organization, and coherence, 2 points. It simply means how you have organized your essay, how many paragraphs you have written there, how you have organized those paragraphs, how does your paragraph start, how do you explain your ideas there, what's the quality of your argument, and how well you have expanded your ideas in the argument. These are the types of things they look into. And coherence means, are you talking about the same topic, or you are, diverting from the topic all the time? That is something they'll look into. Linguistic diversity is more about the ease of using complex language and easy language depending on your own requirement. That is called linguistic diversity. If I look at your work and if I feel like you are not restricted in expressing yourself because of limitation of your structures, then that's how I'll decide whether you should be getting 2 in linguistic diversity or not. Form. For the form, the criteria is the word limit. So you have a limit of 200 to 300 words, and as long as you write this about the given topic, you'll get 2 points. Now, if you write 120 to 200, or let's say 199, or if you write 301 to 380, then you'll just get 1 point. Anything less than 120 or more than 380 means 0. Content, you get 3 points. And the criteria for that is if you have answered all the questions, you get 3 points. All the questions and their relevant points as well, you get 3 points. You have missed some major questions, 2 points. You have missed many major points. All you are writing about the topic, you'll get 1 point. And if you have written about a completely different topic, or if you have misunderstood the question, you'll get 0. Now, interesting and important thing here is if you get 0 in content or form, just like in summarize written text, you'll get 0 in the whole essay. Okay, that's an important thing to keep in mind. Now, the total score here is 15. Some simple tips for getting better score from essay is make sure that you know the template I have given you. Make sure that you know how to modify the template according to the question type. Make sure that you have gone through all the questions they have been asking in the test these days so that you're aware of the ideas to use and how to expand them. And check the words that you have written there. In fact, you don't have to do that. The software automatically shows the number of words at the bottom of the text box. So look into these things and write a couple of essays before the test, get some feedback, and then only go to the test. That way you'll not be losing a score in writing. Let's go to the next part, and that is reading. Now I'll be a little quicker now because I think we are doing fine, but it's still, there are so many things to discuss here, and I want to have an interaction at the end, so I'm going a little quickly here. Multiple choice questions, single right answer. You get 1 point for 1 right answer. There is no negative marking here. Then you have got multiple choice, multiple right answer. You get 1 point for 1 right answer and -1 for 1 wrong answer. The maximum possible score from this section is, I mean to say minimum score from this section is 0. You can never get less than 0. And that's why if you're not sure about any answers, just pick 1. Because if that answer is correct, you get 1. Otherwise, You get 0. You never get -1. Okay, you never get -1 from there. Let's say you had to select 3 options, and out of those 3 options, 2 were wrong, 1 is right. The total calculation becomes -1, but that simply means your score is 0. So even if the overall calculation shows that your score is in minus, your score is not deducted from the next section, or you are simply not getting any score from that particular section. So try the question at least, make a guess, but don't guess more than 1 if you are not sure about the question. That's for the multiple choice question. Reorder paragraphs 1.1 pair. I think this is one of the most misunderstood question types in the test. Many people do not know how they get a score in reorder paragraphs. So let me explain this. Now, let's say that the correct order is B, C, D, E, A. And your order is, let's say, B, A, but E, D, C. Now, if I ask some people how much score do you get, then they tell me like B is in the right place, A is in the right place, and that means I'll get 2 points. Perhaps if you have taken the class, you already know that this is actually not true, because you get a score for the pairing, correct pair, regardless of where that pair is. Okay, so this guy is actually getting 0. Why? Because first we have BC, which we do not have anywhere here. Then we have CD, we don't have any CD here. We have DE, we don't have any DE here. And we have EA, we don't have any EA here, which means 0, because none of the pairs are correct. On the other hand, let's say that somebody does this, C, D, E, A, B. You might feel like the first sentence is incorrect, the last sentence is incorrect, and blah, blah, blah. But if you look carefully, you can see that DE is one correct pair from here, EA is another correct pair, and AB, okay, we don't have AB, so it's DE and EA. So at least we are getting 2 points here. Which means in reorder paragraphs, if you want to get maximum score, you have to think about how to create pairs, how to form pairs, what could be the trick for forming the pairs, rather than putting the sentence in right position. So you basically need to think about the relationship between sentences. How can I know one sentence is related to the other sentence? And how can I determine in what order to put them? Okay, this is what you need to think of. Now, those of you who are already enrolled, or those of you who are doing online classes, you can go to the reorder paragraph section. There is one article about tips and tricks for reorder paragraphs, where I have listed 11 different tricks that you can apply to reorder paragraphs. Have a look at them, it will help you a lot. And if you don't understand anything, you know that you can get in touch with me and discuss these things. Now, fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks, this is a drag and drop type. You have to pick the one right word and put it in the gap. And for every correct selection, you get 1 point. There is no negative marking here. If you're not sure about the answer, make a guess. And in order to answer this question, you have to know at least 3 things. You have to know what are parts of a speech. Then you have to know about collocations. And you have to know about phrases. But most importantly, you have to know about parts of a speech for this question type. The other question is fill in the blanks, reading and writing. Again, this is drop-down menu type. You have 4 options there. You are supposed to select 1. Remember, this contributes to writing as well. So you need to be careful about this section, because this is usually more difficult than the previous fill in the blanks question, but it can influence your writing as well. So you need to make sure that you know how to do these questions. And in order to answer these questions, there are 3 things again that you need to know. The first again is collocations. Here collocations are very important. And then you have to know about academic word list. If you do not already know, we have got 2 academic word lists, abridged and unabridged. One is 570 words long and another one is 3,000 words long. Depending on your score target, you may have to go through one or the other. And the last thing that you have to do is you have to go through the academic phrases. Now, all of these things you can find on our website. You can download it from there, print and study, or otherwise you can access them from the Quizlet as well. So if you are not sure how to use Quizlet, okay, let us know and we'll train you about that as well. We can do some remote sessions like this and we'll help you with the Quizlet as well, how to use it effectively. So these are the 5 question types in reading. So reading, We get 5 different types of questions, and this is how we are scored. I will tell you other interesting things about reading at the end. Then comes listening. The first question type in listening is summarize the spoken text. And again, there are 5 criteria. For one question, you get 10 points, which starts with content. For content, you get 2 points. For form, you get 2 points. And how do you get this? Again, here, you can write more than one sentence, but it has to be between 50 to 70 words. If by any chance, let's say you write 41 to 49 words, or 71 to 100 words, then in that case, you just get 1 point. It's 40. Less than 40 or more than 100, you get 0. And just like before, if you get 0 here, you get 0 overall. Okay. Then comes grammar and vocabulary. Same thing. No mistakes. You get points. And spelling, just like before, you make no mistake, you get 1 point. One mistake, sorry, no mistake, you get 2 points. One mistake, you get 1 point. More than one mistake, you get 0. Fill in the blanks. You get 1 point for each right answer. They have to be grammatically correct and must have correct spelling. So if you miss S or ES at the end, or if you miss ED at the end or INC at the end, you will lose the score. You need to be careful about a particular group of words here, which are called homophones. And again, you can download the list of homophones from our website, or the other one is, and the other one is misspelled word, commonly misspelled words. Again, there is a list of around 100 words which are commonly misspelled and which are often asked in academic tests. So you need to make sure that you know about these words and you know how to do them. That's for filling the blanks. Then comes multiple choice question, single right answer, just 1 point. Multiple choice question, multiple right answer, +1 for one correct answer, -1 for one wrong answer. Okay, just give me a second. I'm hearing a kind of background sound here, notification here. Let me check if anyone is sending me anything here. Yeah, I think everything is fine. So multiple choice, multiple right answer. And then comes highlight correct summary. Highlight correct summary is you get 1 point for one right answer. The problem with these questions is that they consume a lot of time. And because of that, you are likely to miss the questions at the end, especially dictation. So you need to be careful not to waste too much time here. So really have to manage your time well here. And highlight correct summary. Another thing is this also affects your reading score. Okay, that's another thing to keep in mind. Select missing word, you get 1 point. This is the test of only listening. It does not affect any other sections. You might get up to 3 questions in the test, and sometimes all the options will have only 1 word. Sometimes they'll be longer than that. The only 2 tricks you have to think about here is logical and grammatical continuity. So that means you have to think of logically and grammatically, which will be the missing word. Okay, we'll not get into the details of these things because I'm just trying to explain the scoring here. Highlight incorrect words, you get 1 point for one correct, one incorrect word you picked, which means if you can highlight one word which is different than the word in the recording, you get 1 point there. Important thing here is there is negative scoring here. You get -1 for every wrong word, which means do not guess. And the most important question of listening, dictation. It comes at the end. You might get 2 to 4 dictation questions. Average length will be around 10 words. For every correctly spelled word in correct grammatical form, you get 1 point, which means the words like is may have the same score as compared to the word like, let's say, reconstruction, which is, you can see, much longer than that. This is quite interesting. Even more interesting is in dictation, let's say that there is a sentence of 10 words, which you hear in the recording. You just have to write as it is. You don't have to think of grammar per se, although you can make mistake there and lose points. But basically, you just have to say the word you heard, so you don't have to create anything. But still, by writing 10 words, you can get 10 points. Well, let's compare that with essay writing. Even if you write minimum number of words, After writing 200 words without making a mistake, and after thinking about what to write and spending so much of time and a skill there, the maximum score you get is 15 points. So you can imagine yourself, 10 words, 10 points, 200 words, 15 points. So you may not know this, but dictations are more important than essays. You are losing a score in writing or in listening, spend some time with dictation. Maybe that's where you are bleeding. Maybe that's where you need to stop bleeding. Okay, so these are some of the questions to think about. Now I'm going to give you an overview of everything. I'm starting with the less important questions. Questions where you should not be spending too much time during the practice or even in the exam. In speaking, short answer question is the least important question because one correct answer only gets you 1 point. In reading, multiple choice questions, MCQ, multiple choice questions, both types, single right answer, multiple right answers. They are less important. Listening, these questions, multiple choice question, again, we have two types of multiple choice, single right and multiple right. Both of them are not that important. They consume a lot of time. During the recording, you cannot skip anything, and you might not get any score at the end as well. Highlight incorrect summary, not highlight incorrect summary. Oh, sorry, highlight correct summary is another less important question. And again, usually the recording will be around 90 seconds long. Each option will be around 3 sentences long, around 30 words. You will get around 4 options, means 30 into 4 will be 120 words. So 90 seconds of recording, 120 words in the answer, not worth. Although I'm not saying skip them, try your best, make a choice, but don't waste time in them because you might lose the other questions. Then comes select missing words. Select missing words, again, one right answer, 1 point, so not important. So these are the questions which are less important than others. The rest of the questions, I didn't try to categorize them. I didn't try to say which one is more important there because all of them are important, and I want you to practice all those questions as much as you can, or practice those questions more where you're struggling. But these are the questions where you should not be wasting too much time. Just learn how to do them and do a couple of questions, but spend more of your time on other questions. Now, another important thing, which questions have negative marking in your exam? There are only 3 questions where we have negative marking. First is reading, MCQ, multiple right answer, then listening, MCQ, multiple right answer, and highlight incorrect words. Remember, there are no other questions where there is negative marking. Or in other words, in all other questions, you can guess the answer if you are not sure. And I highly recommend that you do that because you will not be losing anything. Okay? Okay, so I think I have tried to explain most of the important things about the scoring criteria. Now I'll take your questions. Just send me messages, ask me anything you want to ask, and I'll try to answer your questions as well. Okay, so I'm waiting for your questions now. Okay, a couple of questions that I'm seeing here that I'll try to answer. In speaking, what happens if I say something from my side in repeat sentence? Okay, as I said, as long as you maintain your fluency in pronunciation, the only thing that matters is how much of that sentence matches with the actual sentence, and based on the proportion, they will give you the score. If it completely matches with some extra words, you will get full points in content. If it's between 50 to 99%, then you'll get 2 points. If it's below 50%, you'll just get 1 point. Can I click next immediately after finishing describe image? Yes, you can click next immediately after finishing your question. Okay, I have problem in pronunciation and fluency. What should I do? Fluency problem, if you think you are stuck because you are thinking a lot, then you should stop thinking. Because if you ask me technically how to improve fluency, of course, it's by doing a lot of practice. But especially for PTE speaking, if you think you have problem in fluency, try to speak even if you are making grammatical mistake. If you are too conscious about your grammar, your speed will be low, and that will affect your overall score as well. So even if you feel like you're making a mistake, keep speaking. Okay, don't try to correct yourself, and don't think too much about the accuracy. content is less important in speaking. Yes, in speaking, yeah. Do I have to answer all the questions perfectly to get full score in speaking? No, you don't have to. In fact, ask many of your friends as well. They'll tell you that they made a couple of mistakes here and there and they felt like they didn't do that well and still scored quite well. So it's quite possible, at least in PTE speaking, to get 90 out of 90, even if you are making occasional mistakes here and there. So rather than focusing on the individual questions and how to do well in individual criteria, think more about how can I speak fluently and without much hesitation. How can I make sure that I sound clear? How do I stress while speaking, or how do I bring intonation and rhythm in my speaking? These are the things you should be considering if you are struggling in speaking. And if you really are not sure where you are struggling, you can come here and do a test with our software, which will give you some idea about how you can improve your score in speaking as well. Okay, any other questions you have? Okay, I'm getting some messages on Facebook Messenger instead of here. And the question here is, you could have sent me the message here as well. But anyway, the question here is, will I lose any points if I guess an answer in fill in the blanks reading? You will not be losing any score in fill in the blanks reading, even if you guess, because as I told you, in fill in the blanks, there is no negative marking. Only in multiple choice question, multiple right answer, you have negative marking. And even there, your overall score never goes to negative. It simply becomes 0 if the overall score at the end was below 0. You only get 0. That means you don't, your score does not affect any other sections. Well, I guess you don't have that many questions left then. Or otherwise, maybe you don't want to ask. Whatever is the reason, I will wait for another couple of minutes. And if you don't ask me, perhaps we'll conclude today's webinar. And don't forget to give me feedback about how we did today. If you have anything in mind, feel free to share with me. Even if you're not our student, you know how to communicate with us. There are different channels available. You can do it through our website. You can do it through Facebook. You can send us some direct messages and so on. Okay, another question. If I use template, can I easily get 65 plus? Yes. Yes, you can. You can easily get 65 plus as long as you know how to use the template. So what I say is, right, using the template many times, okay, and understand what you're writing. Okay, simply don't fill the gaps in the template. Make a habit of reading what you have written, and if you feel like it's not making any sense, then you may need to change the sentence. That's very important. Okay, as long as you can do that, you can easily get the score. In fact, most of the scorer of 90 in writing have told me one thing. It's their secret, I'm sharing with you. What they've told me is they memorize the template. They first type the template in the test, and then after that looked at the questions and then wrote everything they could write there, and then they read their answer. When they felt like, okay, something is not making sense, they modified their sentence. So how did template help them? Template just made it easier for them to write. It has speeded up the process of writing. You know, sometimes you don't know how to start. So when there is a template, at least it helps you to start. And after that, when you read and feel like something's not making sense, you can make changes. So yeah, template can help you. Okay, I'm getting another question again on Facebook. And this one is, dictation is related to writing a score? Yes, dictation is related to writing as well. It's listening and writing. In fact, this is one of the most important questions in writing. If you miss one questions in dictation, it becomes extremely difficult to get 79 plus in your test. If you miss 2 dictations, it's almost impossible. So dictation is very important. But the good news is most often you get the same questions in dictations that we have on the website, that I ask you to practice in the class. So at least make sure that you have gone through those questions, okay? That way your dictation score will go up. And as long as you are using the tricks that I've shared with you, your dictation will improve and your overall score of writing and listening both will go up. Any other questions? I'm still listening. Okay, I think we have done a good job here and I hope you benefited from this. If you want me to continue, let me know. Let me know which question I should be doing next time. From the feedback I got here from the poll, most of you want me to do dictation next time. So I'll keep that in mind. And if you want me to continue the sessions in the future as well, just let me know. Give me your feedback if there is any particular problem you are struggling with. Again, I'd be happy to help you with that. This is just my my attempt to make sure that you are getting enough support, because honestly speaking, we are doing quite well. So we have more students than ever in the past. But that also means that I'm getting less time to spend with everyone individually, although I want to do that. So that's why I chose this medium to speak with you, so that I can get individual questions and give answers that can help a lot of other people. Our online courses are doing quite well. More and more students are signing up every week. There are 7 to 10 students signing up for the courses, which is a really good thing for us. So we are also planning to upgrade the website to the next level, so that it matches the quality of the Pearson's actual question sets and question styles, which will benefit you as well. So we are working on that. And yes, there are lots of things to share and tell you, but I think that will be enough for the weekend. And next webinar, I'll tell you when we are going to do it. Okay, that was a question. That's why I told you. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining, and that's it for today. Enjoy the weekend. Have a good day.